Let me tell you a quick story. Two men I know retired just a few years apart. The first one retired at 62. The day he walked out of the office for the last time, he looked relaxed, almost relieved. No panic, no second guessing, just a quiet confidence that the next chapter of life was going to be exactly what he planned. Travel with his wife, more time with his grandkids, slow mornings without an alarm clock. Retirement looked good on him. Now, the second man retired at 65. At first, everything seemed fine. He had savings, he had Social Security coming, he thought he had planned enough. But about 8 months later, something changed. The stress started creeping in. Every expense felt heavier than it used to. Groceries, insurance, unexpected repairs. Suddenly, the numbers he once felt comfortable about started looking tight. And within a year, he was looking for part-time work again. Not because he wanted to stay busy, because the math simply wasn't working. Here's the surprising part. These two men had almost identical lives on paper. They worked similar jobs, they earned roughly the same income over their careers, they both spent more than 30 years working, same generation, same opportunities, same amount of time to prepare. But their retirements ended up looking completely different. One walked into retirement feeling free. The other walked into retirement feeling uncertain. For a long time, I assumed the difference had to be something big. Maybe one of them got lucky with investments. Maybe there was an inheritance involved. Maybe one of them just happened to make better financial decisions. But when I looked closer, that wasn't the reason at all. The difference wasn't luck, it wasn't intelligence, and it definitely wasn't some secret stock pick that made one of them rich. The difference came down to something far simpler. One of them reached a few very specific financial goals before he retired. The other never realized those goals even existed. And that's the uncomfortable truth about retirement planning. Nobody sits you down at 35 or 40 and hands you a checklist that says, here are the milestones you must hit before you stop working. So most people improvise. They save when they can, they invest a little here and there, they hope everything eventually works itself out by the time retirement arrives. But hope is not a retirement strategy. The reality is that millions of people walk into retirement without clear financial targets, without a real plan, and without knowing whether the money they've saved is actually enough. In other words, most people are guessing their way into retirement. And guessing is exactly how people end up going back to work after they thought they were done. The good news is that retirement doesn't have to work that way. There are 5 critical goals that separate people who retire with confidence from those who struggle financially later. Let's walk through them. In this video, we're going to walk through 5 financial goals you must reach before you retire. Not vague advice, not complicated theories, clear milestones that determine whether retirement feels secure or stressful. Each one strengthens your financial foundation and protects your future income. When these goals are in place, retirement stops feeling uncertain and starts feeling achievable. And the timeline doesn't matter as much as you think. Whether retirement is 10 years away, 20 years away, or even 30 years away, these goals shape how prepared you will be when that day finally arrives. So let's start with the first one. The first goal is simple, but almost nobody actually does it. You need to know your retirement number. Right now, millions of people are saving money for retirement, but they have no idea how much they actually need. They're contributing to accounts, maybe investing a little, maybe increasing their savings every year, but there's no clear target. It's like running a race without knowing where the finish line is. Retirement planning only starts to make sense once you know the number you're aiming for. And that number comes from a very basic question. How much will you need to live every year once you stop working? Think about your future lifestyle: housing, food, travel, healthcare, daily living expenses, everything that will shape your life in retirement. Estimate what those yearly costs might look like. Once you have that yearly number, you can begin calculating the total savings needed to support that lifestyle for decades. Because without a clear retirement target, Every financial decision becomes random. You're saving, but you don't know if it's enough. You're investing, but you don't know if you're on track. A clear number turns retirement from a vague idea into a measurable goal. And once you know the finish line, every step you take starts moving you closer to it. The second goal is something many people underestimate. Enter retirement with as little debt as possible, ideally none. Here's why this matters so much. When you're working, debt feels manageable. Your paycheck comes in every month, and those payments, mortgage, car loan, credit cards, just become part of the routine. But retirement changes the equation completely. Once you stop working, your income usually becomes fixed. It comes from sources like Social Security, retirement accounts, or investments. And unlike a salary, that income doesn't easily grow when expenses increase. Now imagine that same income still carrying debt payments, a mortgage pulling money every month, credit card balances accumulating interest, car payments continuing long after your working years.
Each of those payments quietly eats away at the money that's supposed to support your retirement lifestyle. And suddenly, the freedom retirement promised starts feeling restricted. That's why eliminating major debt before retirement is so powerful. When your mortgage is paid off, your home becomes a place of security, not a monthly obligation. When credit cards are cleared, interest stops draining your income. When auto loans and personal loans disappear, your expenses shrink dramatically. The result is simple but powerful. More of your retirement income stays in your pocket. And that's the real definition of financial freedom in retirement. Living without financial obligations, constantly pulling money away from the life you worked so hard to build. The third goal is building strong retirement investments. Saving money alone isn't enough. If that money just sits in a regular savings account, inflation slowly erodes its value over time. What actually builds retirement wealth is investing consistently and letting time do the heavy lifting. This is where long-term investing becomes incredibly powerful. When money is invested and allowed to grow for decades, something called compound growth begins to take over. Your investments generate returns, and then those returns begin generating returns of their own. Over time, that compounding effect can turn steady contributions into a much larger retirement portfolio. That's also why retirement accounts exist. Accounts like 401ks, IRAs, and similar retirement plans offer tax advantages that help your money grow more efficiently. Some reduce your taxable income today, while others allow your investments to grow and be withdrawn later without additional taxes. But the real key is consistency. Contributing regularly, even in smaller amounts, builds momentum over time. Month after month, year after year, those contributions accumulate and compound. Just as important is maintaining a long-term perspective. Markets go up and down. Some years look fantastic, others feel uncomfortable. Emotional reactions during those moments often lead to poor financial decisions. Successful retirement investing rarely comes from trying to predict every market move. It comes from staying disciplined, investing consistently, and giving your portfolio time to grow. Because in the end, retirement wealth is almost never the result of luck. It's the result of time, patience, and steady financial discipline. The fourth goal is building multiple income streams for retirement. Relying on just one source of income in retirement creates risk. Think about it. If your entire retirement depends on a single check every month, whether that's Social Security or withdrawals from one investment account, any change in that income can create serious pressure. A market downturn, rising expenses, or unexpected costs can suddenly make that single income stream feel very fragile. That's why financially secure retirees often build what you can think of as an income stack, several different streams of money flowing in at the same time. The first stream for many people is Social Security. It provides a steady monthly benefit that forms the foundation of retirement income. The second stream often comes from investment income, such as dividends from stocks or interest from bonds. These earnings continue to arrive while your portfolio remains invested. Another stream may come from retirement account withdrawals, where a portion of your savings supports your yearly spending. Some retirees also generate income through real estate, where rental properties provide consistent monthly cash flow. And then there are passion projects or part-time work. Many retirees continue doing small amounts of work they actually enjoy, consulting, freelancing, teaching, or turning a hobby into extra income. The goal isn't to depend on one perfect income source. The goal is to create several streams working together, because when income comes from multiple places, your retirement becomes far more stable, far more flexible, and far less vulnerable to unexpected changes. The fifth goal is something surprisingly simple, yet incredibly powerful. Have a written retirement plan. Not just an idea in your head, not a rough guess you think about once in a while, a real plan that is written down. Because something changes when your goals move from your thoughts onto paper. They become clearer, they become measurable, and most importantly, they become real. A strong retirement plan outlines several key things. First, your target retirement age. When do you realistically want to stop working? That timeline shapes almost every financial decision you make. Second, your expected spending. What will your lifestyle actually cost once you retire? Housing, food, travel, healthcare, daily living, every piece matters. Third, your income sources. Where will your money come in each month? Social Security, investment income, retirement account withdrawals, rental income, or other sources. Next is your investment strategy. How your savings are invested and how that portfolio will support your retirement over time. Then comes healthcare planning, which often becomes one of the biggest expenses people face later in life. And finally, estate planning. This includes things like a will, beneficiary designations, and making sure your assets are properly organized for the future. Writing all of this down creates something powerful. It turns retirement from a vague idea into a clear roadmap. And that clarity creates accountability, because once you see the full picture in front of you, every financial decision starts aligning with the life you want to build. Before you move on with your day, take a moment and think about where you stand. You've just seen the 5 goals that shape a confident retirement. Now ask yourself an honest question. How many of them have you already achieved? Maybe you already know your retirement number. Maybe your investments are growing steadily. Maybe you've started building multiple income streams. But maybe there are still a few areas that need attention, and that's completely normal. Retirement planning isn't about perfection, it's about progress. So take a few minutes and mentally review the 5 goals. Which ones are already in place, and which ones still need work? Because that space between where you are today and where you want to be in retirement isn't something to worry about. That gap is actually your roadmap forward. Every step you take from here moves you closer to a retirement that feels secure, stable, and truly enjoyable. Before you go, I'm curious, out of these 5 retirement goals, which ones have you already achieved, and which one are you working on right now? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one, and it's always interesting to see where people are on their journey. Because the truth is simple. Retirement confidence doesn't come from luck. It comes from planning early and staying consistent over time.